Hello, everybody. It's Mike Recine, and I have an exciting announcement to make. I have a baby coming any day now. Look, I don't beg for money a lot on this show. I only do it about once or twice an episode, but I am going to beg for your money this time. If you can support me on Patreon, it would really help. $5 a month gets you a show, a 20-minute show. Right now, we're doing 6 days a week. Maybe in the future, we'll go down to a little less. So give me your money now, and then I'll give you less stuff, is what I'm trying to say. No, but if you can, the wife and I would really appreciate, $5 to help us in the next couple months when we have this new baby around the house. And today, my guest is, him, you're familiar with him. It's my brother Steve. Thanks for coming to the show.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks for having me.
How's it going?
Good.
Yeah. Are you fully vaxxed?
Fully vaxxed, 2 weeks. My birthday marked 2 weeks from the second shot. So I've been fully vaxxed for almost a month now.
Now, I feel like you're still not leaving your house, though. Steve has asthma, so he wasn't like me where he just went and lived his life.
Yeah, right. Well, because early on in the pandemic, I asked my doctor. They're like, "Yeah, you're one of the at-risk people. Like, you'll die." So, yeah.
Your doctor said that.
Yeah, my doctor told me early on I was an at-risk because it's a respiratory disease. So if you get if I were to get it, my lungs are shit anyway. So
now let me ask you this: did you find yourself thinking about death a little bit? Because I thought about death a little bit with when COVID first hit, when we didn't know, when we were still alcohol spraying our Amazon packages and everything like that. So did you find yourself thinking about death a lot, and if you would be?
I was, and then it's crazy to think, like, it's been a year since the start of it. So I've been going in like dips and moods of like, I'm thinking about death and I can't handle it. So I'll just, get high all the time and kind of numb myself to it. But yeah, just if anything in the last year, just realizing like, death is around every corner.
I know it really is. And I think, and it's just, but I think that there's been societies, there's been people throughout history who have had to confront death and think about death a lot. Namely, like people who, the United States bombs a lot of people. So like those people have had to think about death, but we haven't had to think about it. We haven't had to, we haven't been like, oh, I could for the most part.
Well, yeah, Americans don't really contemplate their own mortality that much.
It's white Americans don't.
White Americans, it's ignored. Yeah. It's just like, oh yeah, we'll live till 80 something or whatever, we'll be fine. But yeah, knowing that, like, I think with this, a lot of people didn't wrap their heads around, like, you could be fine going to the store and whatever, and then all of a sudden you're sick and you're on a vent. Like, that was the thing that people couldn't wrap their heads around. Like, I'm fine. I never get sick with the flu.
Yeah.
So to like contemplate your own death is one thing, but then you just started talking about like all the people we bombed and killed over the years. So it's one thing to like look inward to your own mortality and then realize like I think that's a separate issue too of contemplating our own.
Well, I was reading some Michael Parenti recently, and he was talking about Osama bin Laden, and he said something about how, like, we were sold that narrative of like the terrorists hate our freedom. And we were in high school. I was in high school when 9/11 happened. So I kind of believed, I sort of believed whatever I was told about it. I trusted the government, man.
I trusted adults.
I trusted adults. Yeah, I trust the adults in my life. Yeah. And but so Parenti was like, well, they've told us that they're jealous of the terrorists are jealous of our freedom. But he said he's like, but Osama bin Laden said, you keep bombing us, you keep killing our people, so why should your people be safe? I'm not saying that I support Osama bin Laden or that I'm any kind of Osama bin Laden apologist.
I know,
but I just
that's exactly where the conversation would go. Like, I remember you bringing up.
I'm not saying this is a bin Laden, fan podcast or anything.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
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 No, but to even like bring up, I remember you brought up something. It was like later when you were in high school talking about the Iraq War, and you're like, yeah, but we like you said something. Bringing up that point about like, yeah, but from their point of view, like we've been bombing the shit out of them forever. And I remember mom and dad yelling at you.
Uh-huh.
They're like, they want to kill us. Like, why do you think we bomb them? Because we have to. Like,
right.
I mean, they're just uneducated and they don't know how to explain that type of stuff. So that was their shit. But I remember like any idea of like reflection of like, oh, what brought this? Like,
well, you weren't really allowed to have that conversation.
Right, because we had to support the troops, and if you didn't, you were un-American and a pariah. So you didn't want to end up like the Dixie Chicks.
No.
Isn't that fucked up? Like they got the shaft on that one. Like I remember everyone hated their guts.
Yeah, they were like, "How dare you?" Yeah, it's a weird, I don't know, it's a weird thing. I mean, I'm reading Malcolm X's biography right now, and I mean, this guy really like hated Whitey. I don't know if he always felt that way, but there were points in his life where he was like, they asked him on TV, they were like, are there any white men who did anything good for the black men in America? And he was like, yeah, I would say maybe Hitler and Stalin. Because thanks to Hitler, a black man could get a good factory job in America, and Stalin kept the pressure on them, something like that. So it's like he really hated Whitey. So it's kind of like you have a couple choices when you hear something like that. When someone hates you, it's funny because I think this applies to a lot of different aspects of life. Like when someone hates you, I don't think I have a lot of people who hate me, but when someone hates you, you have two choices. You can go like, oh, okay, let's think about why, or you go, what is your problem? I have haters.
Or you can make a video of your wife admonishing them for peddling in Italian American stereotypes. I'm thinking about Seth Simons.
Speaking of which, shout out to Seth Simons, friend of the show.
No, but
we hope he's doing well. What?
But your point about like when someone hates you, like and the reaction to that, for most of us, at least like our parents, the response is just like to respond in kind.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, you hate me? Well, I hate you.
Yeah. Well, fuck you.
And it's like it goes against everything we were raised with religion to kind of believe, like everything Jesus taught. And all that horseshit. But you're getting on a lot of like weighty issues here. Like we were talking about like contemplating death and how that ties into like our role in just hate in general and death and whatever. Sounds like you got a lot of weighty issues on your mind here, Mike.
Yeah, I do. Well, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world. I think probably, I think over the past couple years, I've been reflecting a lot over what I've believed most of my life. And I think 9/11 is a good place to start. I think that it was such a big,
it is. I mean, and I remember being such like a little, like I would just go along with it.
Yeah.
I remember telling you like, come on, Mike, you got to support the president. Like, you got to respect the president.
Well, I mean, look, bin Laden probably shouldn't have done that. It wasn't really cool that he knocked
it wasn't nice of him.
It wasn't really nice of him to do that. But, I don't know. You do have to think.
I mean, that is like kind of an inflection point of like, you remember they kept telling us there was like a little bit early on before it was like, go shopping. That's how we beat the terrorists.
Mm-hmm.
It was, hey, let's stay united. Like, remember how we were all, everyone likes to say like, remember how united we all were?
Yeah.
After 9/11, it's like, yeah, but we were united around an idea that we had to go to war.
Yeah.
Which was fucked up. Like, initially it was,
and that war lasted 20 years. I don't know how long we were in Vietnam, but I don't think it was 20 years.
I don't know enough about it because we started like guerrilla campaigns before we like officially went to war there. So we were doing shit in Southeast Asia before the official start of the war. So I don't, these forever wars, it's like, do they ever really end? I mean, we still have bases all over the world. Like,
well, it's just weird because I remember mom being very anti-war. Like when we were kids being like, Lyndon Johnson was the worst president because he sent all those kids to die in Vietnam for no reason. And she was like very vehemently anti-Vietnam war. Then it's like Vietnam 2 rolls around. I mean, we've really like just we've really gotten our asses kicked a lot in the past like 40 years. We haven't really had like a win since World War II, like a war that we've won.
well, what defines a win too? I mean, World War II, we dropped
Making
an atomic
Hitler
bomb.
shoot himself in his bunker. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
but that was more Russia, I guess, right?
We dropped an atomic bomb.
Yeah.
You know, like our country is like the perpetrator of the biggest mass killing.
Yeah.
In the history of the world, like the biggest event that killed people, like in wartime. So,
well, we had to do it, Steve. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
Well, I get like when people get very upset about like talking about the irresponsibility of the war, because then it just, to them, it's like, oh, so you're telling me my friends died for nothing?
Right.
Like, well, yeah. Like they were. Well,
yeah, it's tough. It's a tough thing to face.
It's tough to deal with. And that's all this stuff is. It's like having to face really hard truths. And white people are really good at just like ignoring it.
Yeah.
Moving right along. Like it's.
But then the other thing that makes it more complicated is that, Iraq was a kind of a fucked up place. Like Saddam Hussein was not a good guy, even though we did back him, but he wasn't a good guy. And his sons were fucking, his son was a fucking rapist. And so I remember like mom watching Oprah back in like 2003 and just being like, like Oprah, because Oprah was really gung ho about the Iraq war.
Everybody was, yeah.
And I think everybody was. And mom being like, they're the only country that has rapists on their payroll. They pay rapists and they, and like, I mean, you hear some pretty horrible stories about Saddam's kids, but what it does seem like was that things actually got worse after we invaded. So like, so
yeah, there was a book.
It's like having a mouse problem and then you end up with snakes in your house.
Yeah, right. It's like that Simpsons bit where it's like, how do we get rid of these birds? Like, oh, we release some mongooses. Like, how do we get rid of the mongooses? Like, oh, we release gorillas. What do we do with the gorillas? Oh, they'll freeze to death in the winter.
Is that an old? Yeah.
But yeah, it's I don't know. It's like it's not fun. It's not funny to talk about, but it is like, that's what we're kind of going through. Of reevaluating.
Well, it's fun. It's fun to act like you support Bin Laden. I mean, it's fun to, I think, go to Thanksgiving after not spending Thanksgiving with your family to come back and just be a full on Osama bin Laden apologist.
Yeah, if we ever have a holiday together again, but
yeah, right. Well, yeah. Well, so let's get into this. We had the verdict. The Chauvin verdict came out yesterday. The guy was guilty on all 3 counts. Did you have any reactions to that? Who do you think had the best reaction, and why was it Alyssa Milano? I don't know if you saw her tweet.
No, but I didn't see many people's reactions. I just watched the verdict being handed down, and I mean, it's fucked up to say I was surprised. There was part of me that was like, oh, they're gonna let this guy slide like the other one.
Really?
But I mean, there was part of me that thought like, okay, maybe they'll find him guilty on one thing. Because I'm just conditioned to be cynical about this shit.
Yeah. I mean, I knew he was going to get convicted of something, but I don't know. I mean, there's a lot to talk about here. I mean, I think if just as an intro though, Alyssa Milano was like, justice has been served. And she's like, rest in peace, George Floyd. You have changed the world.
When do celebrities like have to feel like they have to make a statement about everything? Like, you could just shut the fuck up, Alyssa.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like Pelosi yesterday saying like,
well, they're so fucking
for sacrificing your life. Like, he didn't choose that.
Yeah, I know. She's acting like
murdered by cops.
I know. She's acting like he was Obi-Wan Kenobi or something, like letting the guy.
Yeah, right.
I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I just think the whole thing is very sad. And there's a lot of, I mean, I don't know. Did you have any reactions to it? It's just, I mean, I guess the one thing that I was thinking about, and I don't know if this is maybe like a privileged sort of position to have, but I was kind of thinking about like, how do you make a Derek Chauvin get made? How does a guy who does that to somebody in broad daylight while he's being videotaped? It just seems like such a depraved, heartless thing to do. And it's like, how does that happen? And is it even worth thinking about? And I don't know.
Yes and no, because like I have friends who are cops that I haven't spoken to in a long time because they just don't talk to me anymore because I've said so much shit about them. But
yeah, so you don't have friends who are so. Sounds like your cop friends have
I used to have friends who are
thin skin.
No.
Yeah.
No, I mean I'm talking about some particular guys.
Yeah.
But like I've heard them say like incredibly racist shit about like, oh yeah, like, well, when you walk the beat, you'll see like these people are nuts. And it's like that's how it's born. It's like all these cops, like even there are good cops. I hate having these qualifiers and being like most of them are good.
Yeah.
But like there is still this like very
but most of them are good, but
among some.
Right.
It's
and
a benign, like to them, it's like, oh, I don't hate black people. I just know them to be more troublesome. And it's like that shit of like, okay, if you think that this friend of mine that I grew up with, like with other, like we all had black friends and we all ran the same groups, but for them to say that in the privacy amongst other white people, I feel like a lot of cops just let it slide because it comes under that thing of like, don't cause waves. Like we're all in this together. There is a camaraderie thing of like, okay, you are fucked up, but I can't say anything about you because we have to keep up this perception of solidarity.
Right.
It's like, how is this Derek Chauvin made? Complacency.
Yeah.
And it's like also for us to be asking this, I don't know if you or I know a Derek Chauvin. Maybe we do. Someone with the capacity to become Derek Chauvin. That shit is like it's little things over time that like builds that ruin someone's humanity. Like for him to even get to that point, like he was never challenged.
Yeah. Ever. And I don't want to sit here and make excuses for anybody. I just don't understand. I mean, it does seem like, and also, I mean, this is a guy who had 19 complaints in like, I think 19 years on the force or something. So I probably feel like if you met Derek Chauvin in real life, you wouldn't like him. He wouldn't be like a nice guy. He wouldn't be a guy who like smiles and is friendly and stuff. He's probably a fucking piece of shit. He's probably shitty to, you know what I mean? Like these things, he's probably shitty to, so I don't know why. I don't know why I have this impulse to like think about, because a lot of people are like, I'm seeing a lot of people like, fuck you, you're a monster. I hope you rot in hell. And I hope he does. I hope he is. I hope he does go to prison for a long time. But I don't know. I don't know what the point is I'm trying to make. I think that.
Well, your point is like you want to, in your question,
it's just
figure out.
It's just like sad that this happened.
Like
yeah.
Right. And how do you stop it from ever happening again? Like, okay, the next Derek Chauvin, like, is there any, are people like him redeemable? Like, is there a way, is this going to make,
I don't think so.
Is this like, is him being found guilty on all three counts? Is that going to make the next Derek Chauvin not like lean on a black person's neck? For minutes, like, is it going to? And maybe it will, but I don't like it. It's going to be a long time because the
other thing you have to think about too is there's probably other Derek Chauvins out there. I mean, this guy was on the force for 19 years without killing someone. It just so happened. Because I don't think that he had intention to kill George Floyd. I think he didn't. I think he was just being super callous. I don't think he was like, I'm going to kill this guy. He just didn't care that his actions could have led to someone's death. So this guy went 19 years on the force without killing someone. But he had it in him to murder somebody, which means there's thousands of, I don't know, maybe hundreds of thousands of other cops out there who have it in them to kill somebody who don't have the right.
You don't need to have an intent to kill to be like evil and malicious. Like he thought George Floyd wasn't important enough while he was screaming or like gasping for air while he was saying I
Right.
couldn't breathe. Like,
Right.
he doesn't have to be like, I'm gonna kill you, motherfucker. It's that
Right.
he didn't even care.
He didn't care. Yeah.
And there has to be some kind of punishment for that. Because
Yeah.
like again, we're with Eric Garner and all these other cases
Right.
of
I was
these
just thinking
guys
about
like
Eric
getting
Garner.
off scot-free. Like,
Yeah.
that's the shit we're sick of.
Mhm.
So when like all this, I can't stand this.
There
like,
was that guy. There was that guy. That guy Daniel Shaver that was killed. He was killed in a hotel room. He was a white guy, and he had like a rifle because he was an exterminator. And he had a rifle that he was showing to some other hotel guests. And then the cops were called. And then there's a video of when he gets killed. He's on his knees, and the cops like walked. You know, the cop is just clearly some fucking like. So yeah, you just got to think about the culture of policing, and it's clear that this cop thought that he could just, he was just some little Call of Duty pussy who I guess wanted to kill somebody. And then you think about that guy Walter Scott in North Charleston who was running away from that cop,
right? Shot in the back. Yeah,
and he was shot in the back, and we saw that on video. And that cop went to jail, but I don't know. I guess is the problem that they think they can do this. They think that.
So here's the problem. I'm glad you brought that up because initially, and this is the case with George Floyd and nearly every other case like this, that initially before that video was released of George Floyd, from that girl making the phone video, before that, the Minneapolis police reported it, and I'm reading it right now. It says, man dies after medical incident during police interaction. So that is like kind of more the root prop of like, not only was he going to get away with this, but they presented it as like, oh, this is nothing to see here, nothing to talk about.
Oh no, he had a medical issue. Yeah.
So not only is Derek Chauvin like the fucking problem, it's like whatever system is in place that allowed you to put out that report in the first place.
Right.
Because there was one cop who testified that was there that was like, I think he was using excessive force. So for something like that guy didn't feel he could speak up to make sure that report reflected that. Like, because that's the shit. It's like, oh, before these videos come out, you're just presenting an alternate reality that just feeds this bullshit of like, oh, it was warranted. All this excessive force was warranted. Like, and we're finding it's not.
It's just so crazy to think about, because if you read that in a thing, you go like, oh, okay, this guy was getting arrested, and then he
was high on drugs, and he had a medical issue, and it just makes a freak accident. That's what it makes it sound like.
It just makes me feel so guilty though, because Black people know that that's probably bullshit. And then it's like that Chappelle bit where he goes, apparently the police have been beating up Negroes like hotcakes.
Right.
So yeah, it just makes me feel bad when you think about, because you read something like that and you go like, oh, that's really unfortunate. This guy was getting arrested. This guy who was probably a criminal was getting arrested. And then he died. And it wasn't that this guy caused his death. So it makes you think about,
we're also, I mean, we're also taught to just like take police at their word. And it's like, well, like that's what they said. That's the record. And now like people are finally, at least white people are finally like, maybe what they say isn't true.
Yeah.
And like the guilt of like, centuries, decades of Black people like saying these things are happening.
Yeah.
And like, I was just turning the other shoulder of like, well, no, the cop said this, or like, it's not our problem.
Yeah.
Now it is like, we have to make it our problem.
It's funny when you look at the history of policing too. A lot of policing was originally started because one thing that they never teach in school is the connection between government and big business. And, police were originally organized as like slave patrols to stop escaping slaves,
private property.
And and they were also used to break up strikes, which is kind of interesting to think, but you don't think about that when it's like, okay, these people who work at a warehouse or whatever just want better conditions. And then they send the cops in, and it's like the cops are in people's minds are this sort of force for good and law and the law, and, and you trust them, and they just go and they beat up strike breakers they beat up striking workers who just want to,
the history of that is there's so many cases of it, and we're not taught any of it. Like,
Yeah.
the history of this country is uh, private property owners and rich people
That's what's written by. Yeah.
employing police to just keep the rabble down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, the fact that police
It makes you really respect Jimmy Hoffa, by the way. I mean, I know Jimmy Hoffa was a scumbag and everything, but he did know how to play ball.
Yeah, right. I mean, he was corrupt as shit too, but
of course. But he did understand that you needed that. And then the mafia was like, well, we can make more money back in the unions. So that's what they did. So it's kind of this, I don't know. The story of labor.
But the history of policing is the history of oppression.
Yeah.
And not 100%. Obviously, there are cases of like the police force being created to protect and serve. But the more and more you read, like, there are just so many instances of police being just hired, like even off-duty cops, even if they're not like patrolling. They're hired to put down strike breakers.
Really?
To break up, like, the Tulsa massacre was one instance, but there's so many instances of Black communities just being like burned to the ground and like ransacked by like Pinkertons or private guns, like, and they're all cops.
Yeah. It's funny because I feel like now that, like, after learning this stuff, I feel like I can't ever have a peaceful dinner with our family ever again.
No, I know.
You know what I mean? It's just like, I think it's just damaged my relationship with our family, because I did, over, what was it? What was the holiday? Easter that we just celebrated,
Yeah.
I go down, I'm like, all right, let's take it easy, keep it civil. Let's, keep the common ground, whatever. And I just ended up in this like kind of screaming match with, our grandmother and our parents.
Yeah.
And it's so I don't know
because the problem is, Mike, is that we're bringing up these things because they pique our interest, and we want to share it with them. Like, hey, we actually did this, but they don't want to acknowledge anything bad we've ever done.
Yeah.
To them, like, America is the city on a hill, like the for the rest of the world, and anything we did, we probably had a good reason.
And I don't really want to talk about that because I think it's like kind of boring, and we've talked about it a lot. The whole thing with like our family. I don't know. It's just you have to. Well,
it's interesting. You like kind of touched on this thing of like our family is actually like very subservient.
Yeah, they're bootlickers.
Like,
they love it. They really love authority.
Respect authority.
Yeah.
I mean, they love authority.
They love Daddy God, Daddy Trump, Daddy Giuliani. They just love submitting. They love fucking submitting to authority. Yeah.
And it's like we just live in two different realities. So that's the crazy shit. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just I sent you. I don't know if you read that article that I sent you back in 2018. There was a.
Oh yeah.
It's just I can't. You can't read these. You can't read. If you read enough of these stories, you have the takeaway has to be that, like, man, a lot of cops are like just kind of like pussies. Like, a lot of cops are just these little little men. I was reading an article from like 2018 where there was this 87-year-old woman. She was from Syria, and she would go out during the day and she would cut dandelion greens off the grass, and she would like use them to make salad and stuff. So she would go out with a knife and a bag and cut dandelion greens from the ground.
Okay.
Somebody called the cops. Just don't call the cops on people
ever. Yeah.
Even if they have a knife, just if you see somebody with a knife, just it's probably
she wasn't
fine.
Around any other people either. Like, she had a knife and she was in a field, right? Like, she was going out to like cut.
Old woman cutting greens out of the ground. I mean, I think that like.
And then so what happened?
There's this weird stuff. There's this weird stuff too nowadays where they're killing people. They're not killing. They're still killing unarmed people, but they're killing people with knives, which is kind of.
They're killing kids with toy guns.
They're killing kids with toy guns and they're killing people with knives. That 15-year-old girl that got killed in Columbus yesterday, I guess she had a knife for self-defense, but apparently she dropped the knife. Now apparently, and then apparently, that kid in Chicago, Adam Toledo, he might have been holding a gun. I'm not sure, but he dropped it. He definitely wasn't holding it when he was shot, as we saw on the body cam footage. So,
all right.
So
these cops that you're talking about, like that, a lot of
if
them,
I
or a few, like a good majority of them are these scared men, and scared men just reach for their fucking gun anytime they're threatened.
Yeah.
Like it's become this thing of like, I remember anytime like a cop used their weapon, the narrative was like, oh, they have to protect themselves.
Yeah.
But we're seeing that like
we just have a really sick country of like these like suburban, these like scared suburban tough guys. These guys with like the big trucks.
They want to play army man, or they want to play
army
like
man.
They want to play the Lone Ranger. They want to be the good guy with a gun. And it's like, you go out there and you get all this military equipment and you look like a fucking invading force when you show up to someone.
Yeah.
So when you show up for a noise complaint.
Yeah.
And you mean to tell me that like the only way you could take down a teenager is to shoot them in the fucking chest or the head?
Yeah.
Like, it's become like we're just like letting cops like use their guns just anytime they feel threatened. It's like, that's your job, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Part of your job is dangerous. It's inherent. And you're trained not to use your gun, not to kill people.
Yeah.
And I get it that like you like sometimes there's like, crazy situations and someone.
Did you see that video though? There's a video where these cops they pulled over this white guy and the white guy's like almost threatening to shoot them.
Yeah.
And so the guy's like almost threatening to shoot them, and they're like, don't do it. And he like, I think he might have even like reaches for his gun. And I was watching the video and I was like, okay, I might have dropped that guy. I don't know. I think if somebody aims a gun at you, it's a little different. But there's something about a knife.
Well,
Was it
the case? Oh wait, go on.
But there's just something about somebody holding a knife, somebody wielding a knife, even if they're like a crazy person with a knife. It's just a knife. It's just like, okay, just maybe
knife. Shoot him in the leg.
Yeah.
Or tackle him. Like you're decked out in tactical gear.
Yeah.
Even regular cops are now.
Right.
Like, you mean to tell me you can't take a knife wound?
Yeah. You can't get stabbed. Yeah.
Really? Like that's the point. Like when you sign up to be a cop, it's like they assume every situation is going to be terrible.
Yeah.
But it's not. Like that's kind of the job. Like you have to go there under the guise of protecting and serving. And if someone, I don't know, it's really hard to talk about this without sounding like, oh, no cop should have guns. Because that's where like it kind of leads to like, oh, do you want the cops to not have weapons? It's like, well,
in the UK they don't. I mean, in a lot of other countries they don't. I mean, it is nice. It is nice to think
that those countries don't have a populace that own like hundreds of thousands of guns.
It's almost like we got to throw this country in the trash and just start over. I'll tell you what, I was hanging pictures with Deb yesterday. And it was like this thing where like she wanted them a certain width apart and she wanted them a certain width from the edges of the wall. So we had to like space them out the right way. And then like you should always have one person doing that instead of two people's input, because you don't communicate whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, something happened where I was like, and I had to leave. Something happened where I was like, we have to start over. And I think that's what we got to do with America. We got to just bang our head against the wall. We got to throw something across the room and just do the country over again, because we have this kind of like, we have this culture. It's not that our culture is it's not like we're ancient Sparta where people are just too into war and fighting and stuff. It's not like people are like good. I mean, I guess people are skilled with guns. I guess people can aim a gun and shoot it, but it's not like we have an aggressive, this overly aggressive culture where everybody's like wants to fight. But people do want to fight, but
I think everyone secretly wants to be Gary Cooper in High Noon, or they want to be Charles Bronson in Once Upon a Time in the West. They want to be that good guy, like the good guy with a gun that's gonna come in and like
But even Charles Bronson in Once Upon a Time in the West, I mean, there was like a control, there was like a quietness to him. You know, he wasn't like jumpy with he wasn't trigger happy. He was
right.
like
if
people should study Charles Bronson as a model for how to use your gun. I mean, I think there's part of me that feels like we have to get away from, we have to have less of a gun culture, and we got to get back to like samurai culture. There should be a federal program where samurais come and take people's guns and replace them with swords and just teach people how to use it. Because then it's like people who, you know, then we got to have
with fencing or like sword play or karate or some of these other things, they have like a philosophy kind of baked into
it. Yeah.
Of like, even with like sword play, it's like sort of like, okay, you and your opponent, there's like a level of respect.
Mm-hmm.
But guns are just like, it's like, there's something like so childish.
There's something cowardly about it. So what? Childish and
and cowardly of like,
yeah.
Like, I love how the conversation of like, if you say, I'm going to take your AR-15 and someone's like, why don't you come and try and take it? Like, are you saying you're going to fucking shoot me?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's like the mentality of these people.
Right.
Like, I can get out of any situation with my gun.
Right. And that's the thing too.
I mean, actually a gun's not going to save you. A gun is just like, it's just a symbol for people who can't handle their own mortality.
But even it's like those people are just sick, you know, and I think those people are sick, and they have to be treated, with the way of the samurai. They have to be treated. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Cause you're not going to treat them with like CBT or talk therapy. It's gotta be like, why don't you replace this killing machine with this one? And
I'll tell you what, I had a day yesterday. I had kind of a long day. So Deb's dad came to visit, and we had lunch with him, and we went out for this big lunch. And then, you know, I was trying to work out all day. I went to go to the park, but there wasn't any parking near the park. So I had to like come back, and then I had to go out to lunch with Deb's dad. And then when we got back from lunch, she asked me to hang up those things. And then I had to go do a spot. So I'm like, fuck, I didn't get to work out. I ate this big ass lunch. So I ended up doing my spot. I came home, and then I rode my bike to this little field like near our house, and there's a pull-up bar and a dip bar. And I just did pull-ups and rows, you know?
Yeah.
But it was really dark. So it was really dark, and it was like I was like, if anybody wants to jump me or whatever, like they could, you know? But I started thinking, and I started imagining myself. I started imagining like a music, like a doom, 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 doom. And I just imagined like orcs closing in on me. And I just imagined like 10 or 15 orcs, you know, like all aiming their weapons at me, like circling me. And I just imagined like myself pulling out like a sword and a dagger. Cause I think that's how I would fight. Maybe like a sword and a throwing dagger. And then I just imagine like doom, 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 doom. And it's like they're getting close. And then like they start to attack me. And I throw a knife at one, and then I chop one's head off, and I stab another one, and then I get in this fight. And maybe
one just comes up and shoots you in the head.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably.
No, but what was your point? That like it's just like inherent in you that you like imagine.
I'm saying that what an awesome way to die. Just being overrun, just like Boromir in Lord of the Rings, just being completely overrun by orcs. I mean, so I think, and I mean that's so much better than getting shot, you know?
Yeah, of course.
So I just think that
there's nothing honorable about guns.
No,
let's put it that way. And
unless you're Charles Bronson, Once Upon a Time in the West with one gun, and you're like really skilled with it, and you're outnumbered. I mean, if you're outnumbered, that's like another thing, I guess. If you're really good with a gun,
right?
Yeah.
But also like these people with like shitloads of guns, and they keep saying like, I needed to protect myself. Like we need concealed carry laws. Like why?
I gotta tell you though, did I show you that level in Red Dead with the Braithwaite Mansion mission?
No.
So I just to interrupt you real quick, because this is the one like cool gun thing. But in Red Dead, there's a part in the game where you go to this region that's supposed to be like the American South. And there's two big families that kind of control the town. There's a town called Rhodes. And so the families don't like each other. So what your gang starts doing is like stealing each other's stuff and blaming them blaming each other on it, and you're kind of like starting this war. So the plan is like to start this war between the Greys and the Braithwaites, so that they destroy each other, and then you can steal all their gold. But they find out, and they kidnap John Marston is the guy in the first game that you play as. They kidnap John Marston's son. So your whole crew goes to the Braithwaite mansion to rescue Jack Marston, the little boy. And it's maybe the best thing I've ever experienced. You all like riding on your horses, and then you get off your horses and you're walking down this big path, like you and your boys.
Yeah.
And,
okay. So that's fine.
Cool. So if you're,
that's great, like in a video
yeah.
game, and that's like how you get your wish fulfillment out.
Yeah.
But when you imagine it happening in the real world, and you're like I want to be ready in case that happens.
Yeah.
Like that's not gonna happen. Like all these guys that have these like, I love it that like Biden introduces like very like toothless few executive orders to get rid of ghost guns and to do more background checks. But all of a sudden it becomes a conversation of don't take away my guns.
Yeah.
And it's like that sickness. That's what needs to be like done away with, because even like someone like Mom will say like, oh, so you want like we shouldn't get rid of people's right to have guns. Like that's not what we're saying.
Yeah.
You can't like talk and chew gum at the
same
time.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like you're never gonna America. I mean, gun culture is so embedded in American culture that you're really like, I mean, if I was a politician, you would never, you're never gonna get rid of it. You're never gonna stop. But there have to be ways to sort of like reduce it, to kind of curb it a little bit, to make it less cool. I mean, I think that's, I mean,
you have like,
if I worked for David, here's what David Hogg should do. Instead of starting his pillow company and quitting like a little baby, because business is very hard. Sorry, buddy. Sorry, Mike Lindell's still the king of pillows, you little fucking cock. But it's really funny. Isn't that really funny that his pillow company?
He's stupid.
He's
anyway.
A guy though. It's like what you're probably just surrounded by yes people all day.
Finish your point. What should David Hogg?
What I would do if I was like a head of an anti-gun, or if I had some kind of sway in Hollywood or whatever, is I would just make movies that are have you seen Yojimbo?
Yes. Yeah.
I would just make Yojimbo. I would just make 10 things of Yojimbo where it's swords versus guns.
Okay, you're exactly right. And that's the point I want to make, that our love of guns is like a lot of it is wrapped up in movies. Culture. Like John Ford even said it in one of his like last interviews with Peter Bogdanovich.
Oh, really?
He was like, I made all that, like the idea of the lone cowboy riding into town and saving everybody. He's like, that's not historical. Those are movies.
Right.
And that's like, it's part of this myth.
John Ford's like, oh man, I really fucked up. He's just looking at, I mean, if John Ford like knew all the mass shootings that were happening, he's like, I mean, somehow, do you think cowboy movies led to mass shootings?
You could probably make the argument. I mean, it just builds a culture around like loving guns, not just like accepting guns, but encouraging like, oh yeah, like you can be that cool. Like, oh man, I want to be John Wayne. Like, John Wayne was a piece of shit. And like, if it were up to John Wayne, he could shoot a black guy and like
he was like a fucking just like a fat like drunk, right?
Right, and he like. John Wayne's the epitome of that shit, of like this loud, big, racist dummy, just like takes care of business with his gun. Yeah.
Charles Bronson was cool though. I think I'll always defend Bronson. I don't know. There's something about Bronson where it's very, I don't know. He's a good role model for kids.
Well, yeah, because he's not blonde and blue-eyed blonde.
There's something about there's like a calmness to him that I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Wait, is it like the what was it? Tony always talked about Gary Cooper, the strong silent type.
Yeah, and then it's like Public Enemy is like, they say they're like fuck Elvis and John Wayne.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's
but that is a huge thing. Like, and I have thought about like, okay, well, like make an action movie without guns. And you think about it, and it's like, okay, so. What world am I setting this in today where like the bad guys all have guns, but my hero is going to beat them without it? Like, it's not,
karate.
You're gonna have
I
to
guess.
come up with like, and that's where creativity is gonna have to come in. Like,
right.
That's we should be doing that.
Well, I think what you would do is you would make the movie where it's like a Native American guy or like a Native American guy or like a Rambo style guy, but he's black. And he's like a drifter that comes through a town. Everybody else in the town has guns, but he doesn't use guns.
Yeah.
And you make the guns look like, man, get me Hollywood on the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
get Ted Sarandos on the phone. Netflix should be
get Scott Rudin on the phone. We're gonna revive his career.
That piece of shit.
Scott, I got an idea for you. Get me Scott Rudin and Amy Klobuchar on the line. Two people who throw staplers at their staff. But yeah, I think what I would do is you make a Rambo style, because Rambo's an awesome movie. I mean, The First Blood is an awesome movie because it's him, versus the cops. And it's just him as he's like a drifter, but he's not some bumbling shithead cop,
Right.
We got to stop glorifying these fucking these like shithead cops. But what you do is you make like you have a guy, like I said, maybe he's a war vet. He's like a drifter, and
it's a good idea. It's like if a bunch of
it's like the drifter
guys roll into.
Yeah. Or you can make it a woman.
Reservation.
You can make it a woman, maybe.
You just make it anyone that's not a white man.
You make it you know what you do? You make it an interracial couple. You make it a strong black guy and a heavy set white woman. and they just want to come through town and not get harassed. And and they get bothered by all the Americans with guns, and then they have to fight back, but they don't use guns. They use their brains and
balls.
Yeah, and they use karate. And apparently the overweight woman is like a karate expert. Man. Could you imagine what a piece of shit if we worked in Hollywood and we were just powerful people in Hollywood, what pieces of shit we'd be? We're like, I got an idea for a movie. It's gonna change the fucking world, man.
I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We do a world without guns. Yeah.
It's just so funny to think about the power. I mean, the power of movies and what they do. I mean, I was watching a little YouTube video about Apocalypse Now a couple days ago, and this whole thing of like, this guy was like, "Oh, it's one of the best war movies ever made." It's funny to think that there's people with that much power in society, where they have this, where like Apocalypse Now, people still watch it and quote it and everything. But you think of Francis Ford Coppola just having the power to shape the ideas of the American psyche. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He had the power to like make his own,
just to make this right, to make this influential movie. And you can say whatever you want about the war or whatever. It's like, I don't know. I just do this podcast. But it's weird. It's weird to think that you could be a guy who's like, I'm going to make this movie and it's going to be good. It's going to really influence people's minds. It's going to be about karate instead of guns. That's my message. Yeah. That's my central message of the movies. And this movie's going to stop mass shootings, Yeah. Imagine how much power that puts in your mind. Of course you would end up like sexually harassing people. You'd be like, I'm a god.
Okay. All right. You skipped a couple steps.
No, but I'm just saying the power is very weird.
That idea, and then someone gives you like
the green light,
$50 million.
$50 million. Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to feel
how do you not? I know. I don't think I could handle
like a god.
Yeah. Like I don't,
like,
I'm glad that I'll never have that level of power.
Look at someone like Zack Snyder.
Mm-hmm.
That guy, like, okay, he made like cool action movies, like before 300, he did the Dawn of the Dead remake, and then he started doing the Superman movies and the DC movies for Warner Brothers, and he becomes this like megalomaniac. Like, I can just see it because I followed his career.
But was 300 his first movie?
It wasn't his first movie, but it was a gigantic hit.
Yeah.
So then I forget what job he got after that, but like,
because 300 is a fucking piece of shit.
Like
the ideas that are baked into 300, it's like this sucks.
Well, that was and look at that.
Just come out to your dad. You don't have to do all this. Just be gay. They're like being like homophobic in the movie against Athenians. They're like, oh, well, what's your job, you Athenian queer? Because I'm a warrior. Bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah. This leads to a bigger issue too of like, it's not just like the mythos of the like American hero and man, but like the idea of like what is masculinity?
Mm-hmm.
It's just easier to say guns.
Yeah.
It's easier to be like, what makes you feel like a man? A gun.
Yeah. Well, that's why you got to find like a star. You got to make somebody a star, but not Rebel Wilson. Maybe like Meg Stalter or somebody. You got to find a woman, or I don't know. I think the dawn of, you remember in Lord of the Rings when they were like the age of elves is over. Now it's the age of men. That's how I feel, but in reverse. I feel like the age of men is over. And now it's the dawn of elves and non-binary people and
I like it. Yeah.
Trans people, which kind of sucks, but whatever. I didn't
But
really
hey,
get a chance. I didn't really get a taste of the success. I'm just here at my little podcast. But what are you going to do?
Really.
But I do want to be killed by orcs. Promise me that if I get terminal cancer, you'll set that up for me. You'll have a bunch of actors.
Oh yeah.
You'll have a bunch of actors dressed up like orcs.
Yeah, I'll take you out into a field.
Yeah, and you'll let me kill, and you'll let me stab a couple of them before they overrun me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If that's your dying wish, you got it.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So
it's about to end on.
Or
you gotta talk more.
Can you do a little more? Can you got a little more time?
Yeah.
I just want to talk about so I guess we'll wrap up with this. I'm doing I got a baby coming. Like I said, please support the Patreon. $5. Give me $5. You're all back to work. Okay. I could really use it. But it's not that, but having that little chunk of money come in at the end of the month, right after I pay my rent, it's really nice. I promise I'll keep doing, I'll keep doing the show for as long. And if you're a Patreon subscriber who's listening, thank you very much. But I am starting a new podcast. It's called The Dad Show. I'm going to interview different dads. We're talking a lot about, we're just talking about what it means to be a father. And I don't know. Go ahead.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
For the Dad Show, are you going to be talking to like new dads? Are you going to be talking to guys who have older children,
like grown children,
or is it?
I don't know. I mean, most of the people that I know are like new dads. I mean, most of the guys that I'm friends with that have kids have younger kids. But I think that I'll talk to anybody who's willing to do the show.
I think it'd be interesting. Like if you get some guys like to talk about, between now and the time baby's born, it's a week away.
Yeah.
Talking about like what changes after that birth, and do you have anybody lined up?
I did an interview with Sean O'Connor and Chris Allen, two very funny guys.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's all. That's in the can. That'll be out soon. The Dad Show with Mike Recine. So check that out.
Awesome.
I just want to it's just the thing that I guess the thing that I'm most nervous about, and Deb's always like, you're thinking too far ahead. You're going to have a baby first, but the thing that I'm most nervous about is having this kind of like unfulfilled relationship with my son, this kind of like mediocre sort of half-assed, like that I give all this to this kid. And it just, not that he disappoints me, but that I kind of like let him, that I'm not that good of a father. Now, I think that our dad, obviously, I think our dad did a good job. Our dad was he was a good provider. He was always there if you needed like a ride home or something. It was never like, you hear stories about other people's dads, and he was always like he was always available.
Yeah.
We went out to dinner on Saturday nights. We had those,
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I just hope that I do.
You want more. You want more with the relationship with your son than what we had with our dad.
I'll tell you this. I want more of a now growing up, our parents were like, your parents aren't your friends, we're your parents. There is very much a so there and it's so this is all about the choices that you make because it was very much a I'll tell you what, it was very much a sort of it was very much a hierarchical relationship where it's like I'm the parent. It's because I said so. It's my way or the highway. I don't care. I don't really care how you feel. It's like do this, do that. I'm in charge. Right now, Amanda, my sister-in-law, brought her boyfriend's kid to visit last Saturday. This kid Gio, he's 10 years old. He's from Staten Island. So every once in a while he'd be like, yeah, liberals are scared of COVID because his grandparents, like put that in his head. But I got to tell you, I had a really fun time with this kid. He brought his little Nerf gun to the playground, and he was the only kid in the Carroll Gardens playground, like walking around the park with a Nerf with a gun. I've never seen anybody with a fake gun. He had no mask and a gun. I'm like, we're probably getting dirty looks over here, but it was a lot of fun. Like we went out for pizza. We went to the playground. We went for a walk. He told me he's into history. He's like, I'm really into World War I and World War II. So we talked a little bit about, I told him that the FBI killed Martin Luther King. So yeah, we'll send him down a nice little wormhole.
Right.
We played, How
old is he?
He's 10.
Oh, good. All right.
Yeah.
All right. You'll be ahead of the curve.
Yeah. So he was like, I'm a little chunky,
Mm-hmm.
So, he goes, yeah, I'm a little chunky. I was like, yeah, like I was too. Don't worry about it. I was a fat kid too. And all I ever got from anybody was just fucking grief and bullshit. And you're eating too much and like slow down and maybe you don't need dessert. Nobody was ever like, hey, let's go running. Let's get on the bike. Let's lift some weights or something. And I like all that stuff. I like working. I work out every day with like all kinds of different equipment and shit. So I just hope that now maybe this is naive that I'm even saying this, but I just hope that me and my kid are like a little bit of better friends than I was with my father.
You will be because the fact that you're even thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, Sean O'Connor was like, you'll probably overcorrect. And then he'll be like, get away from me. I'm not your, And
also you got a lot of time till then. Like, you probably won't feel truly connected until they like start having object permanence and like start talking a little bit. Just sort of like, the first year is just going to be keeping the thing alive.
Yeah, but I know, but I am hoping that I have sort of a connection with my baby, and I'm kind of excited to building my own family that's not a bunch of like just shitty right wingers.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to say,
yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm glad you're starting it, and I think you're going to be a hell of a dad, and I think it'll be interesting too. One of my Kevin Shower, our friend who has 2 kids, he was telling me that like as you start seeing them grow up, you start like reevaluating, your upbringing, and it does help you like revisit those moments that were big or formative and how you can correct.
Yeah. And I mean, he's going to be really handsome if he's mine and Deb's kid. He's going to be like, he's going to have like big full lips, He's going to be, he better not be a runaway because he'll be,
it's going to be so interesting. Like combining your personality and Deb's.
Yeah.
You're both going to be good parents, and it's going to be improvement of the upbringings you guys both had. It's it's
not to, I mean, look, nothing against any of our parents because I don't want to jinx myself.
Yeah. I hate that we have to do these qualifiers.
I'm going to be better than my dad. I don't think I'm going to be better than my dad. I'm sure being a parent is very hard, and having 4 kids and one with special needs is like not easy,
Yeah, of course.
But I do want to do a better job. I do want to clear the bar though. But you know what I mean? Yeah, I want our relationship to be different.
Right. I mean, because the it's interesting you said like our parents were always about like, we're not your friends, we're your parents. And yet they would also try to say like, you could tell us anything. Like, no, I can't. I can't tell you jack shit.
I didn't feel like I could tell them. I didn't feel like I could tell them anything.
Yeah,
I still don't really feel like I could tell them anything.
Well, now I feel like I can't tell them anything because mom just goes and blabs.
Yeah, you can't trust her.
And not only like goes and tells everyone else, but like gets something wrong about it.
Yeah. No,
changes
you
it to
can't.
fit
You
her
can't.
name.
Yeah.
But yeah.
If anyone knows Barbara Recine out there, do not trust her. She will betray your trust. She's got a big fucking mouth. She cannot keep a secret. Do not make the mistake that we've made.
Yeah.
By telling her stuff. All right. Cool. This is a lot of fun. I feel like we tackled a lot of good stuff. I enjoyed, you don't always enjoy podcasting, but I enjoyed doing this one.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
So,
thanks for having me on.
Yeah. You want to plug anything?
No, not yet. I don't have anything to plug, but I just encourage people to get vaccinated. If you're wary about getting vaccinated, reach out to me or Mike. Be happy to send you some reading material that'll make you feel a little bit more informed about the decision.
Yeah.
Be considerate. We're still not out of it completely. So I hope everyone stays safe and healthy. That's all.
For sure. Like I said, guys, patreon.com/sitdownpod. I got this baby coming. Give me a couple bucks. All right. I do. I work really hard on the show. Thanks for listening. Sitdownpod@gmail.com. Follow me on social media at Mike Recine on Twitter, Recine Mike on Instagram. Follow me on TikTok. I'm still making TikToks on that fucking demonic app that I think I hate now. It's just kind of a
keep doing it. Keep them coming.
Yeah.
Keep them coming. They're good.
All right. I got some ideas. I was thinking the next one I'm going to do, it's going to be like your neighbor who only reads the New York Post. And he's like, did you hear Hunter Biden's having sex again? All right. So that could be fun.
Great.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Steve. Always a pleasure.
You got it.
Take care. And
see you, Mike. Love you.
See you next time. Love you. Bye.